Hello, everyone. My name's Chris. Today, I'll be talking about location planning to GeoAI, how LI drives business impact across industries. I must confess, I didn't realize I was following Javier after the keynote speech. I think it serves me right for trying to cram as many GIS, geolocation buzzwords into my title. So I promise I'll try and cover at least half of them in the 15 minutes that I have today. In terms of the agenda, cover off some introductions very quickly about myself and Bain and what gives me any authority to be talking about some of these subjects today. And then moving on to the emergence of GeoAI, so some relevant topics that we've already discussed this morning, and then what that has meant, at the very least for Bain, in terms of how we think about location intelligence, how we deliver that for our clients as well. Before finishing with some future perspectives on some of the trends that we're seeing emerging in various industries around the topic of GeoAI. So very quickly, like many intrepid geographers, I started my career at the University of Leeds, doing a geography degree, a PhD in spatial analysis, moving on to many different geospatial location intelligence consultancies. A who's who there you can see. I think I've only need a couple in the UK to complete the set, working with Javelin, GMAP, some of my old colleagues I know here today, and then moving in-house working for Sainsbury's Argos, leading their location analytics capability, so driving that through their business away from their traditional location planning functionality. Spent some time at CACI as a partner in the location analytics team, before more recently moving into the weird and wonderful world of management consultancy. I currently lead Bain's geospatial capabilities globally and also lead a data insights function within EMEA as well. So a blend of data science, geospatial analytics. And I think the point I wanted to make here was not to advertise myself for any new role, showing my career and expertise, is that between consulting, in-house roles, and academia, hopefully I have a unique perspective on the changes that we've seen in the industry over the last 15 years. Very quickly on Bain, for those of you who don't know who Bain is, we are a management consultancy firm. Our mission is to help our clients create such high levels of value that together we set new standards of excellence in our respective industries. The key thing I want to make about this slide really is that we are a truly global company in nature. We are 18,000 employees worldwide across 65 cities in 40 countries. So this presents a particularly unique challenge in the way that we tackle geospatial problems. Many of our clients also operate internationally, so the work that we do has to be consistent and standardized in our proposition across multiple markets. Our proposition also is very broad. We aren't a location intelligence specialist consultancy like many of you will work here today. We work in strategy innovation, ESG more recently, accelerated performance transformation, operations, customer experience, sales and marketing. We have a digital transformation practice. I sit within our advanced analytics practice, where our data science team sit, our data engineers, software engineers. Bain are probably most known for our work in private equity. So a lot of the geospatial work we do, for example, is around diligencing businesses for investment for different funds, but also from a post-acquisition point, how to start driving transformation in their businesses and at the top line, whether it be profitability or reducing cost, et cetera. That's enough introductions. So the emergence of GeoAI. I think it's clear to me, certainly over the last 15 or so years that I've been working in the industry, and I know beyond that, there's been a positive shift in redefining spatial analysis. And Javier was talking a bit about this just now. There's been a shift in going beyond asking where things happen to understanding why they happen there. Location data and geospatial analysis is no longer constrained to a GIS. It's now a core capability of most modern data science and analytics teams. In terms of location planning, now replaced by location intelligence, location analytics, spatial data science, and GeoAI. And if we just follow the graphic on the right-hand side, location planning used to be very much a desktop solution, isolated, ring-fenced, centered around a GIS, maybe a couple of users that were using that GIS. And vector and raster data sets and analysis were typically separate. Often somebody specialized in remote sensing versus somebody in location planning, network planning. There's been a transition in the maybe last 10, 15 years towards more location intelligence, location analytics is a term. We're seeing web-based solutions, BI dashboards, Tableau, Power BI, ClickSense, making spatial analysis much more easy to consume, taking it out of that more complex GIS. Use cases still very specific sometimes in the decision support tools that we see, location planning, fiber rollout, very narrow in their application. Whereas now what we're seeing, and certainly at Bain and with a lot of our clients, is that data sets are much more blended now. We're seeing a combination of raster and vector data sets to tackle complex problems. deeper integration with broader data science teams and analytics functions. Spatial data science is now a subset within the data science field. Far more broader use cases as the demand for spatial analysis is increasing and problems are becoming much more complex and the analysis needs to get much more granular. And then the emergence of generative AI being a disruptor in the space more broadly. In terms of unpicking what we mean, or at least the way I understand GeoAI, there's two sides to the coin, really. There's the location intelligence piece, which many of us will be very familiar with, the process of examining the location's attributes and relationships in spatial data through a series of spatial analysis, whether in real time using raster data, data science more broadly, 3D imagery, vector analysis, spatial temporal analysis. And on the right-hand side, we have artificial intelligence and the many subsets that sit within there. So artificial intelligence generally is computer systems able to perform tasks that normally require human intelligence. Machine learning, a subset within AI, is ultimately around systems that can learn and adapt without following explicit instructions by using models to draw inference from patterns that we see in data. Deep learning, inspired by how the human brain operates. And then again, more recently, as I said, generative AI, the idea of creating new material from unstructured data, whether it be developing a narrative, a chatbot, an image, or even writing code. And as these two worlds collide, we now start to see this term GeoAI emerge, sitting in the middle between location intelligence and AI. So GeoAI really is the integration of artificial intelligence with spatial data science, and geospatial technology to solve complex problems, and increasingly more complex problems. And there are four components that I think really sit within there. There's the data itself, sourcing, preparing, and storing geospatial data in a way that enables efficient access and updates. So we've talked a little bit already about Snowflake, AWS, Google BigQuery. Spatially explicit techniques within artificial intelligence for detecting patterns, making predictions, classifications, spatial temporal and forecasting, and more. The technology itself, so how we interact and present spatial data, how we consume it from the databases themselves and present that visually in tools like Carto to make them easy to interpret and understand. And then integrating spatial data analysis into many broader systems, so taking that outside of the GIS or even outside of a simple decision support system. We're seeing many of our clients pushing geospatial data into their CRMs so they can look at customer acquisition, improve retention, into their marketing stacks for personalization. The use cases are extrapolating significantly, at least what we're seeing at the moment. And this emergence has really been driven by a range of technological trends on both the data and the technology side. So POI and location data, detailed location attributes revealing strength and composition of any given location. Sociodemographics, increased granularity and standardization of socio-demographic data across the world. So leveraging satellite imagery, for example, to get into markets where typically it's quite difficult to understand where different populations are present, whether they be residents or workers or tourists. Voice and sentiment analysis, so increased volumes of data through social media, leveraged through the introduction of large language models. Transaction data has been I'm sure for those of you who worked with this type of data, incredibly powerful data set to start unpicking granular level spend, unlocking local trends, channel shift, customer insights, and customer behaviors. But this, off the back of the pandemic, as demand has shifted incredibly and been a very local fallout, we can start to unpick how different brands are performing in the context of their local markets. Mobility data, again, quite commonplace now in quantifying footfall, accessibility for local and transient groups, tourists, workers, commuters, revealing their travel patterns and behaviors. From a technology point of view, cloud computing, the ability to process, store, and deploy geospatial data at scale and very quickly has really accelerated the use accelerated the adoption of geospatial technology and analysis. And then finally, artificial intelligence. As I said, machine learning, deep learning, and natural language processing make it possible to analyze geospatial data at scale and increase granularity. Problems are becoming increasingly more spatial in their nature. So many of these trends are driving this, I guess, emergence of GeoAI. What does that mean for Bain? So how we deliver location intelligence has changed the way that we think about our geospatial problems and the propositions that we deliver. So historically at Bain, we work across many different industries. I'm sure all of you are familiar, or many of you work within these different sectors, from advanced manufacturing communications through to social impact in public sector and retail. Our geospatial practice typically sat within retail, private equity, and a little bit of communications and media. But ultimately, it was a siloed capability with very specific use cases and teams that were built in each of these industries. We have many different capabilities at Bain that weren't leveraging the power of this data and analysis. This meant that a lot of the tools that we developed and we have today, so we have our Vantage tool, which we developed in partnership with Carto, the classic decision support tool for site location planning, where to build new stores, restaurants, supermarkets, hotels, whatever it might be. Driving complex models, admittedly, into this, but it is a single use case. We have a similar product, Lumi, which is for telco planning, fiber rollout, looking at cost to serve for fiber and rural markets, 5G experience, so to help telcos plan and expand their networks. A use case within logistics, our Edge toolkit, and then private equity, where we do a lot of our work at Bain. This is similar to Vantage, but the difference being we're trying to leverage insights much quicker, turn around 1-2 days to try and understand for a fund whether they should be investing in a particular business. Bain Geospatial today looks very different. We've integrated our geospatial practice into our advanced analytics group, which now means it cuts across every single one of our capabilities and also every one of our industries. We're leveraging through our geospatial data warehouse, working with Snowflake, Pixie transaction data, data from Esri, Hook, one of our partners, Carto, Geolytics, and many more. Our spatial data science team now sits inside our data science practice, which means we're leveraging the latest in machine learning techniques alongside cutting-edge GeoAI models through OpenAI, Python, Amazon Web Services, Azure, etc. Our visualizations are also open to Carto, Tableau, Heavy AI, Streamlit as we create our own applications. And then finally, where I guess the management consultancy side comes in from a strategic point of view, we're deploying these solutions inside our client system, so we have to be agnostic in the way that we work. We can't be always spatialists or special. They have to adopt the tools that we work with. We're working with whatever our clients have to deliver and answer their problems. So now location intelligence looks very different at Bain. It drives through every single one of our capabilities, from strategy innovation to ESG, advanced analytics, and through every one of our industries. So if we take an example of a fuel forecast retailer with ambitious growth plans, also looking to change their strategy and how they deliver energy. Initially, we start with a site performance model that sits in advanced analytics, trying to predict what drives performance for each of their sites. We can then convert this to a profit model, so looking more at cost transformation. We now make format recommendations around directing investment, whether it's new types of format through EV, customer experience, sales and marketing. And then finally, through identifying opportunities, using that predictive model to identify new locations, but also M&A opportunities where they might be able to acquire additional businesses. And then finally, from a business transformation point of view, we're integrating all this work into their existing tech stack and working with their teams through a change management process to deploy all of these different solutions. Historically, we'd have probably only done the site performance model, and that would have been where the geospatial work would have ended. Now we're deploying a lot more work across our spectrum in terms of our proposition. And this has really opened up now the work that we do. So rather than those 4 core propositions, which we still deliver, we're now doing work in real estate on market entry, ranging and assortment, creating digital twins, store performance, pricing. Dynamic pricing was a recent one in the US, using pricing zones, leveraged from geospatial data, using weather, demographics, geodemographics, supply chain optimization, demand modeling. Private equity is an area we've done a lot of work previously, but we're really expanding that offer at the moment, using transaction analysis and market assessment, fiber rollout, 5G within our telco and utilities practice, also looking at the maintenance of power lines, predicting when the next tree is most likely to fall, or where we might see forest fires emerging. This is expensive if a utilities company has to, if power outages happen. We're now using predictive models to work out where to send their maintenance teams. Sales and marketing, so pricing and promotions, creating sales territory and service planning for cities and for companies. Catastrophe modeling is increasingly becoming a challenge. Financial services and public services as well. So the fraud detection in particular and GDP forecasts is something quite novel at the moment, that we're predicting the likelihood of risk for banks, for insurers, as they're lending credit to farmers, say, or even on an individual basis for mortgages. Future perspectives on GeoAI. So these are very much my own thoughts. I'm sure many of you have your own views on where the industry is going. But I really feel like we're in a great place at the moment. Location intelligence is a truly indispensable part of any modern business. There are many key areas that are sort of driving a lot of our work at the moment. So digital transformation, the complex relationship between physical and digital channels, Hyper-personalization, creating customer-targeted experience, whether it's in physical locations or online. GenAI can help personalize this again through and leveraging geospatial data as well. Logistics, the increasing demand to deliver goods and services quicker. Economics and geopolitics are dominating the news more often than we would like at the moment, but creating instability means, again, more local problems. Then ESG and climate change, a key area that we're working on. These have all been underpinned and driven through variations and changes in technology, so real-time data, increasing computing power, edge computing. GeoAI is a term, as I've mentioned, so object detection, prediction, and pattern analysis will bring significant innovation to autonomous transportation, for example, sustainable planning. Data capture is changing. There's new visualizations. There's new ways of capturing 3D imaging through immersive technologies to enhance decision-making. We've got smart cities. Data is everywhere. We can leverage this information to make our services much more efficient. And then space, it's a very general term. But from communication to Earth observation, satellite imagery is driving a significant amount of the analysis that we're doing now. Typically, we often work with vector data. That's no longer the case with many of our predictive models. And then finally, just some quick thoughts on GenAI. Matt Forrest and I were debating a while ago how GenAI was going to be disruptive, specifically in spatial. Initially, we thought we might be safe, and we'll all keep our jobs, but ultimately, I think we do need to embrace the technology, and Javier has already shown some of the areas this is changing the way we think about spatial. So whether it's improving code and writing it faster, making maps easier to understand, using prompts to get data and create maps, this is already, for me, a great way to bring other people into our circle to get them using spatial data more. We want people using our data, our analysis, and I think GenAI is going to be a great way to bridge that gap for some non-technical people. And then image classification is something that we're using a lot to try and work out house prices, where we see different demographics, populations moving, shifts in GDP. And finally, I think it's worth recognizing that even in this context, spatial is special. What I don't mean is that we should put our arms around it and protect it. It's just that caution should be taken as geospatial is more complex than other forms of data, which means the reality is that geospatially fine-tuned models will be the future. Thank you very much.